Hey guys, Darren Mitchell here. Trust you're doing well. Just been reflecting on a conversation I've had with a few colleagues around the importance of leaders and how they're leading in times like this. Now, it's fair to say over the last 6 weeks or so, particularly in Australia, we've seen a lot of examples of the best in human nature, but also some examples of the worst in human nature as well. And so when it comes to leadership, I just wanted to shoot a quick video that hopefully will be of value to you. And one of the things we're talking about that as leaders, it's the importance of bringing our best self into every single situation. And it reminded me of an address that I saw Neil Danaher give to the Melbourne Footy Club about 3 years ago ahead of their Queen's Birthday clash with Collingwood at the MCG. And it was part of, I think, Big Freeze 3. And if you don't know Neil is a well-known AFL identity, and in 2013 was diagnosed with motor neurone disease, and ever since then has been an avid supporter of research and raising funds to develop a cure, but also develop some treatment for MND, because as it stands today, there's still no treatment and still no real cure for it. But one of the things that really stood out was the address that he gave to the players ahead of that game, and he was talking about the importance of nothing is worth achieving that's not worth, first of all, fighting for, but you've got to have some passion, you've got to have a reason why you do stuff. But when it comes to self, and whether this be as a leader or an individual contributor to the team, you've got to bring your best self to every single situation. So it's not actually what you say you're going to do, it's what you do that is the most important thing. Because he said a really fascinating thing during this address, and he said, when it's all said and done, there is more said than there is done. And so I really started thinking about that and how that applies to us as leaders and what sort of example we bring to the table every single day, particularly in times like this. And so one of the things he did talk about was this continuum of self. And he said, no success is possible without a great contribution from each member of the team, and that will deliver team success. Obviously, you've got to have a lot of other things in place, but he was talking the concept of self. On one end of the spectrum, he talked about selfish. Now, nothing can be achieved from a team perspective if you've got people who are quite selfish. But he said on the other end of the spectrum, it's all about selfless. So it's the acts that we do, it's the things that we contribute to that will lead to team success, and it's the selfless acts, which are the ones that often, certainly in the football context, that are ones that get the most kudos from the players. And certainly from a sales leadership point of view, I started to think, well, how can we as leaders demonstrate how we are more selfless rather than being selfish? Because in times like this, it's quite easy to think about what is the impact of all this stuff that's happening on me, my family, my business, all that sort of stuff. But it's times like this where if we can bring ourselves to be more selfless and focus more on our people, then we can get the best out of them and set ourselves up for more sustainable success down the future. And so I thought about how do we best do that? And one of the things I've been talking a lot with clients lately about is particularly leadership clients who are trying to drive more performance out of their team or keep their team up and about. And we talked about culture last week, and I'll give you an opportunity also to download the culture checklist, which you talked about also. But specifically, what can we do as sales leaders? And hopefully this might help you guys in your quest to become even more exceptional. So how do we best do that? How do we bring the best out of our team? How do we actually get them to increase their level of discretionary effort, their level of engagement, despite all the stuff that's happening right now? How do we act and more selflessly, and how do we get them to act in a more selfless way as well? And one of the key things I've been talking to clients with, as I said, is how do we actually continue to be more interested in other people? How do we become more interested in our team and what's going on in our team than trying to be interesting? Now, I've noticed so many people over the years try to focus on how do I become interesting, and hopefully if I become interesting, people will listen to me. Well, it's actually the opposite. If we are to be as selfless as possible, and if we are to serve our team effectively, then the key is how do I become more interested in the other person? How do I ask questions about what's keeping them up at night, what's causing them concern, what are some opportunities they're looking for? How do I make it all about them? And in the process of being interested in the other person, the funny thing happens, and that is you become interesting. And it's a wonderful thing that happens, and it's just phenomenal. So my question to you today is, how selfless are you being right now? Are you making any of the choices you're making about you? Is any of the conversation you're having with your team even slightly tainted by what's in it for you or what the impact to you is? If that's the case, please move down the spectrum away from the selfishness up to the selflessness and focus on how you can become more interested in your team and other people. And through that process, you'll become more interesting to them. And lo and behold, you'll probably get a high level of discretionary effort and your level of engagement with your team will go up because you're focused on and genuinely focused on being interested in those those people, those team members. So I trust that message is of value to you. Love to get your comments, love to get your feedback. Please comment in the comments box below. And if we haven't connected, love to connect. Just send me a LinkedIn request and I'll be sure to accept that. You can also send me an email, darren@darrenmitchell.com.au. And as I talked about last week, if you wanted a copy of the Exceptional Sales Culture Checklist, just simply in the comments box below, comment checklist, and I'll be sure to get that to you. So until next time, trust you continue to be exceptional, continue to drive the selflessness within your team, continue to be interested in the people around you. Hope you have a really productive week. All the best.